To continue the session yesterday, I'm going to further show you how to use NSCollectionView with the APIs of insert, delete, and use them together. In order to do that, I'm going to add several buttons to our current view controller, which allows us to trigger those changes manually by pressing the buttons. First of all, I want to reserve some of the spaces below the collection view. So I'm going to the storyboard and adjust the auto layout for the bottom space. So now I have some spaces here for some push buttons. The first one, an easy one, I'm going to add a new item to the top of the NSCollection view. I will create an IB action here to trigger the view change to the collection view. So the change will be inserting a new element, say top, at the index of 0. This is the change to the data source by inserting the new string to the very beginning of the strings array. And then I'm going to change it with the collection view dot insert items at index paths. Notice that the type for index paths here is a set of NS index path. I could create this set by converting it from array. But I could also define the variable here and then basically equal to array. Swift will automatically convert that into a set. Basically, the difference between an array and a set would be an array having a particular order of the items according to the time that you add or append the item to the array. But set only has the same collection of the content, but it won't have or it won't preserve the ordering of those items within the set. Here I could provide the only one item in this array, which is the NS index path. I intend to insert this particular item. Since it is adding to the top, so the index of this index path could be 0. And I only have one session here, so it is 0 as well. Then I could paste this variable to here. By running the application, we can take a look on inserting the top string and then at the very beginning of the collection view. As you can see, it is added here now. There are two problems though. One, it is not showing up as animation. We are going to do it in a while. Secondly, which is a data problem. As you can see, every item here, I have the content from the strings array and then the index of the content in that array. By adding the item here at the top, it shows top 0. This is a correct data. However, for the second item here, since it is second item now, the index here should be 1 instead. If I scroll the collection view and then back, it actually will reflect the correct value, because when I scroll it and the item leaves the current view, the next time it displays again, it will call the view display item callback here and set the value again. So basically what we need to do is after inserting the item, showing the animation of the insertion, we kind of need to reload the data for the other items. That's why we need to call reload data just after insert item. In order to show the animation, we need to add the animator callback here, function call here, which returns the proxy object of the same collection view, which allows animation to show. If I want to reload data, I would need to add it just after inserting the items like this. As a point of note, reload data will only reload the visible items here. This is good for efficiency. Now run the application. Here, if I add to top, the item shows up with animation, but it is still not reloading the data. If I add it again, it shows the same. So what's the problem? The problem here is being animation takes time, and it calls reload data before the animation is finished. So we need to warp these inserting items into the performBatchUpdates. This method is generally used if we have multiple operations that we want to perform at the same time. But this is also good for our current case of animation. We'll put the first update within the update callback here. I could copy this into the block. Of course, I will need to use self dot to reference to the self object outside the block. And then for the completion handler, this will be called after all the operations within performBatchUpdates are done. In this callback, we have one variable, one boolean here, which is telling us whether the operation is finished. We reload the data within the completion handler. Now run the application again. And then click Add to Top. This time, it reloads correctly. However, the animation of the insertion is not there anymore. The problem here being, even for performBatchUpdate, I need to call .animator function as well. performBatchUpdate itself is a function with animation. That's why we need to use the animator proxy object. So this time it inserts the item with animation, and then in the completion handler, it reloads the data of all the visible items. Now they have the correct value showing up. I'm going to do the same for remove. So here I have remove from top, create an IB action for it. This time remove the first item, and then I could copy this code. First define the index paths in terms of set of index path. This would be the first item again. In the performBatchUpdate, instead of insertion, I'm going to do it with deletion. So this time is self.collectionView.animator. So one point to note here, sometimes Xcode may be having some bugs that after using .animator, it could not auto-complete with the function call of anything behind it. So one trick to do that would be first type delete item to make sure you got the autocomplete, and then add the animator back to here. So we would pass index paths here as well, and then implement the completion handler, because we are going to reload the data to show the correct index for each item as well. Now run the application. After inserting, we could remove it. Make sure the animation of removal is there, and the data is reloaded with the correct index as well. The third button here, I want to replace the last item. Basically, what this means is to delete the last item and then insert a new value to the end of the collection view. I'm doing this replace last item because I want to show you the combination of several operations on the collection view within the performBatchUpdates call. So first, still we need to handle the data source by remove last and then append a value back to the strings array, say last. For the index paths, also we will need to use the set of NSIndexPath and then provide with the index path for the last item, which will be the strings.count -1 in the section of 0. I'm going to start with performBatchUpdate as well. Remember, you need to add the .animator here. In the updates, I will need to do two operations, delete and insert. So you may wonder which one I should put first. Actually, it doesn't matter for the ordering that you put your code within the performBatchUpdates. So like this case, I'm putting delete first and then insert. But if you check the header file of performBatchUpdates, it writes here like deletes are processed before inserts in batch operations. That means whatever the order you put, NSCollectionView will process all the deletes operation before insert. So here, basically I'm just following the standard for NSCollectionView to put delete before insert. This would be easier to read and also aligning with the convention of Coker API. For the completion handler here, actually we don't need to do anything because we are removing the last item and then inserting it back. These two operations perform at the same time within this performBatchUpdates function call. all the items should have no change. But for good practice, and NSCollectionView already implement an efficient reload data call, we should just reload data as well. This will be more useful, especially when you have other operations like move or reload for the other items as well. So now I'm going to run the application. And then if I scroll down to the very end and then click replace last item, as you can see, it deletes the last item and then insert back with the new content. Now I have the 3 operations set here. Just for the sake of checking that it is working properly for all the operations, I want to add a guard here to check whether the strings still have any content in it. A simple guard could solve a problem like this, removing item from an empty strings array. I could simply do strings count bigger than 0, else return. I will put this into replace last IB action as well. So now I could happily adding and remove items, replace it, remove it, and no more exception will be caused. That's it for today. Talk to you soon.